Hello and welcome to Westcountry Wanderings. Welcome to another one in my Malvern Hills series. I think this is the fourth one I've done from my favourite place in the whole of the Westcountry Wanderings region. Like ever, I love loads of other places, don't get me wrong, but this is my absolute favourite. I don't know what it is about the Malverns, but they really strike something deep within me. That's all I can say really. I've come to start today's walk at a place called Little Malvern Priory. It's near the village of Welland. There is a bit of traffic noise because you've got cars speeding up the hill to the top, the lower slopes of the Malvern Hills. But we're going to start a circular walk around from here, striding up to the ridge on top of what is known as County Ditch, which is the dividing line between Worcestershire and Herefordshire. And then we're going to walk further on round. Well, we'll see how the mood takes us and what we can uncover on the walk here today on Westcountry Wanderings. Just before we set off on today's walk, just tell you a little bit more about the priory that was once here. It's been a place of worship for over 900 years. It was set up as a Benedictine monastery by Henry I. It's still an active local community Christian parish here as well. Now it's believed that one Jocelyn and one Edred were sent from the Benedictine monastery at nearby Worcester, some 12-14 miles away from where I am at the moment. Of course, that's got a fantastic cathedral, which I have done a little bit about before. We'll get around to the three main cathedrals in this area, Hereford, Worcester and Gloucester at some point, I'm sure. Yeah, they were sent here from that Benedictine monastery, basically just to seek out, like somebody shooting a film will be a location hunter, and they decided upon this fantastic spot on the lower slopes of the Malvern Hills here. Now, the lower slopes of the Malverns at that time were part of what is known as Malvern Chase. Very little of that is left these days because obviously you've got building and all the trees have been felled down, but it was a royal hunting estate. Very wild, very remote and very unpopulated too. Now, the building was very much more extensive than it is nowadays. You can see some of the remnants behind me. There was a much bigger transept here as well. There is also a neighbouring court which adjoins the church here that is private, but they have gardens that are open in the summer. Well, from this time of year, from April actually onwards, right through to the end of August. But I believe they're only open Wednesdays and Thursdays. I'll drop it in below, and I'll put a link to their own website and the link to the parish church here to give you more information if you wanted to know more about it. Now, the poet William Langland, who I'd not heard before, was born here in the 14th century. And in 1382, he wrote his famous poem, Piers Plowland, which is based on the spiritual connection that he had to this place. Now, I can feel that spiritual connection that he has. It's very difficult for me to put that in words. You really have to come here to feel it yourself. But I can fully understand why he was inspired to write poetry after being brought up in this fabulous area. Now, for some more information on the little leaflet inside, I'll just read you a little bit because it's really interesting and I can't remember all of it. So if you just bear with me, I'll just read out what it says on the card in information inside the church. A century later, another historical important figure appears in Little Malvern's story, and that's one John Alcock. Now, John Alcock was also the Bishop of Worcester, as I say, nearby city to here. And he was also a great statesman and tutor to Edward the Prince of Wales. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? The Prince of Wales. Where do I know that from? Didn't somebody get coronated recently? Yes, it was actually yesterday as I filmed this. Proclaimed Edward V on his father's death, and his younger brother, the Duke of York, who are perhaps better known as the Princes in the Tower. In 1480, he actually visited the site here and he found it to be in quite a lot of disrepair. And it was that visit from the Bishop of Worcester that inspired the rebuilding into the priory that you see here today. Our first part of the walk today after leaving Little Malvern Priory follows this track. I think it goes to a large house which is used as a residential school. I'm not too sure, but if we pass that, obviously I won't film around it. It's a weekend anyway, so I don't think it's going to be problems. Beautiful blossom on the trees here, and once you get away from that busy road heading up from Welland into the Malverns proper, it then reverts to being nice and quiet. So this lake that's behind me is part of Little Malvern Court. That's the gardens that are open, so I can't get right up to it. But as I say, it is open to the public twice a week this time of the year. Drop the details in the description. You can also see, just to a closer clip of that, Little Malvern Priory, which we were when we started today's video. So at this point here we need to turn off the main track heading off that way, heads down into a farm. As I say, it's a residential school. We're going to head uphill. This is where the hard work really starts, heading up the slope of Tinkers Hill. Just the sound of running water behind me. Unfortunately, that's the footpath. That's not a stream. That is supposed to be a clear footpath. But because we've had such a wet March and such a wet April, and so far a wet May too, we've got a very, very soggy walk ahead of us. So we got up to British Camp Reservoir. Insert a shot of that, and a couple of clips that I took there. You'd be surprised to see that the water level, well, it's barely half full. And with all that water in there, it was pouring down the path. I thought, oh, maybe it's got a leak. Not the case. The reservoir is owned and maintained by Severn Trent Water, the local water authority for this area. And they're running the levels of the reservoir down, which is odd because in southwest water are crying out for water and they've got hosepipe bums, so I can't figure it either. But they're actually going to turn that reservoir, which is no longer used for supplying water to customers that live in this part of the Worcestershire, and turn it into a wetland. The reasons for that I don't really know, but that's what it says on the poster. So now walking through a delightful section of woodland. I think this road actually probably belongs to Severn Trent Water. It would be their access road to the reservoir. We're going to meet up with the main road, I won't film there, We're going to cross over it, and then our climb will continue on the other side till we get to the top ridge, that dividing line between Worcestershire and Gloucester, Worcestershire and Herefordshire. And then we're going to drop down, making our way back down to Little Malvern Priory. So we've now got the stunning range of the Malvern Hills again, which you'll be familiar with if you've seen parts 1, 2 and 3 in my video. I'll link to those in the description of today's. Beautiful day today. It's the day before bank holiday. Yes, another bank holiday. This one is to celebrate the coronation. The King got coronated, and the Queen of course, in Westminster Abbey yesterday. So it's been quite busy around here, but the forecast for tomorrow is rather wet. So I've come out today to make 2 videos. The other one will be landing soon, should I say. So yeah, don't look out for that one, but that'll be coming up soon. So I was making the most of today's good weather. Rather warm. It's got up to about 22 degrees. I think it's probably the warmest day of the year so far, but it's just a fantastic spot to be back here on the Malvern Hills in Worcestershire again. So the piece around here, where I was doing that piece to camera using the tripod showing the view and where this tree is at the moment, is called Winds Point, and further over in the distance there is Worcestershire Beacon, which we've climbed in a previous episode here on Westcountry Wanderings. We're now going to make our way over towards Shire Ditch before we make our descent back down to Little Malvern Priory. So now back on Shire Ditch again. So to my right down there is the Severn floodplain. Sabrina is over there somewhere. We'll be catching up with Sabrina on the Severn Way series again soon. And over on that side is Herefordshire, of course. Stunning view again today. It's always good to catch it on a good day because you get the clouds as well. It just looks like a painting when you come up here. It also looks like you're in an aircraft too, but it's not that dissimilar to descent the other day when I was in the Quantock Hills in Somerset. But yeah, just a gorgeous spot here. It really, really is. And right down there is where we started our adventure today. That's Little Malvern Priory, of course, and you can also see a really good shot of Little Malvern Court. I'm just going to put my telephoto lens, get a better view of it from here. With the beautiful Bluebells still behind me, a beautiful blue sky as well, and fantastic views across the Severn Plain and into Herefordshire and beyond into the Welsh mountains here on the Malvern Hills. That's it for today here on Westcountry Wanderings. Hope you can join me again for another adventure too. If you subscribe and hit the bell, then YouTube will tell you when that next video lands on my channel. I do lots of things. I cover the entire West Country from down in Cornwall. Be doing something from Cornwall and Devon again very soon. Until then, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, and hope to see you on the channel again very, very soon. All the best for now. Cheers. Bye bye.